Hello ladies, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to tackle the subject of belly fat. So as women start into the transition into menopause, they often notice that they're gaining weight, especially around the middle, whether they've changed their eating habits or their exercise. Everything may still be the same, but they're continuing to gain weight. So we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to start with some common myths regarding weight loss, belly fat, all of that. So the first myth is a calorie is a calorie. And that couldn't be further from the truth. 1 calorie of carbohydrates reacts in your body completely differently than 1 calorie of fat or 1 calorie of protein. So those are your micronutrients, your fats, your carbohydrates, and your proteins. So your carbohydrates can be in the form of vegetables. It can also be in the form of breads, pastas, candies, cakes, cookies, all of those kinds of foods. But they all basically have the same metabolism in your body, and they act very similarly. Now, the other myth is if you just reduce your calories, you're going to lose weight. And study after study has proven that that is not the case. In fact, it's probably the fastest way to get fat or to gain weight is to restrict your calories. So the other common phrase is, well, you just need to eat less and move more and you'll lose weight. Again, I mean, for any of you who have watched that TV show called The Biggest Loser, have you ever noticed that they don't have a reunion show? Well, it's because most of them, if not all of them, gain all their weight back plus more. What happens in our body when we have, like in The Biggest Loser, a severe reduction in our calorie intake and severe increase in our physical activity, our body gets put under tremendous stress. And what happens is, although they are able to lose weight, by the time they get down to closer to their ideal weight, their metabolism has severely reduced. One of their hormones called leptin, which is our satiety hormone, which tells us that we're full and we don't need to eat anymore, is also severely reduced. So they're in a situation where they're eating less than they ever have. They're hungrier than they've ever been. And it's just the perfect setup to gain all of that weight back. So the truth is that your hormones actually have more to do with your weight gain and your weight loss than just about anything else. So hormones, there are you have a ton of different hormones, and they do all kinds of different activities in our body. We're just going to focus on a few of them. And it's a hormone imbalance that causes your body to either store fat or to burn fat. So the hormones that are responsible for fat storage include insulin, includes cortisol. If you have an estrogen imbalance, as I mentioned, leptin being the satiety hormone, well, there is a hunger hormone called ghrelin. And when that's out of balance, you're just hungry all the time and you can't seem to get any kind of satisfaction. So because your leptin isn't in the appropriate balance with your ghrelin. So, and then you have your fat burning hormones. So for example, oxytocin, progesterone, testosterone, leptin, as I had mentioned, is your satiety hormone. So all of these hormones, they interact with each other they strive to be in homeostasis, but as we age, especially with women, the production of estrogen and progesterone decrease significantly. So you have automatic hormonal imbalance, and then on top of that, you have estrogen dominance, and estrogen dominance can create weight gain. Progesterone is kind of like the alter ego of estrogen, so it's more of your soothing hormone. It helps you with weight loss. It, does all these wonderful things in our body, but unfortunately, after about the age of 35 or 40, our ovaries are going into retirement and they just aren't producing those same sex hormones as they were before. Now, men in particular, when they have low testosterone levels, it's very difficult for them to lose weight. And there are ways to get your hormone levels checked. You simply just need to ask your physician to do hormone testing on you to see, it's a snapshot of that moment where your hormones are, and they're fluctuating all the time. So it's not the end all be all, but it's still a pretty good indicator of if you're having any kind of issues with hormone imbalance or inadequate hormones. So if your hormones are out of balance, for example, if your cortisol level, which is your stress level, which is your fat storing hormone, if that's elevated, because you're under stress, or because you're not eating enough, or because you're exercising too strenuously, all of these things that we think are going to help us lose weight actually create a scenario in our body where it kind of kicks in our survival mechanism, and your cortisol will hold on to whatever fat it has. The other thing with hormone is it causes a mass dumping, so to speak, of carbohydrates into our bloodstream, or glucose into our bloodstream. And when we have high levels of glucose, it triggers our body to increase our excretion of insulin, because insulin is what helps transport the glucose from your blood into your muscles where it's used for energy. So if you're under stress, your cortisol will push glucose into your bloodstream so that you have the energy to either run away from something or to fight it. And then if your body doesn't use it, because usually modern man is not running from anything, the stress is either internally created with our thoughts, or maybe we're in a work situation where we're under pressure with a deadline or whatever, but we aren't out there running around burning up all of that blood glucose that's now in our bloodstream. So what happens is the liver says, oh my God, there's way too much glucose in the blood, so I'm going to convert it into fat. So insulin is a fat storing hormone. So if your cortisol level is up, if your insulin level is up, you simply will not lose weight. So when women are going through menopause, obviously there are a lot of stressors happening. I've mentioned this already. But it's like the perfect storm to have your hormones in position to do nothing but store fat and very little to burn fat. So if you can balance out your hormones a little bit better, which is what I do with my members in my membership group, if you can do certain things that bring your hormones back into better balance, you're going to start seeing the pounds drop off, especially around the middle, because the number one indicator that your cortisol levels are elevated is if you have belly fat, because cortisol creates fat to be deposited around your belly. So, and then finally, this is something that often isn't discussed, but in my opinion, it's one of the most important aspects of having a successful long-term weight loss and being able to keep it off for the rest of your life. And that is dealing with all of the emotional baggage that comes with feeling like you are unattractive, or you're overweight, or you're fat, or you're saying all these kind of nasty things to yourself, and you go on one diet after another until you get to the point where you think you're just a total failure when it comes to dieting. And of course, in our culture, there's a lot of body shaming. There was a study done that showed that I think it was like 93% of girls had experienced body shaming by the time they had hit 9th grade or something like that. I mean, it was really just so shameful to hear that. But we've all experienced some sort of body shaming. And then we bring our own shame onto ourselves because we don't meet this, quote unquote, definition of beauty, and, being stick thin and legs up to your ears. But anyway, so there are a lot of negative thoughts that go on in our head, a lot of, it's called body dysmorphia, where you may look in the mirror and see nothing but, fat rolls, or you just think you're so overweight, and then people are telling you, wow, you look great. That's your first clue that you may be having a little bit of body dysmorphia, which means that your view of yourself is skewed, generally in a negative direction. And unless you can really work on changing those thoughts about yourself, changing how you see yourself, to stop withholding your own self-approval of yourself until you hit some magical weight, all of these things play into keeping your weight on or gaining it all back. You need to change your thought patterns in order to be able to lose the weight in a very healthy way and be able to keep it off, because it becomes your new identity. You're no longer stuck with the fat you. So anyway, well, we're just about out of time. So this is a big subject. I'm going to do a couple more videos on belly fat, and for women who are in the transition into menopause. So stay tuned, and I'll have a few more videos going into more depth on losing your belly fat. So if this is the type of information that you enjoy, please hit the subscribe button and hit the like thumbs up, and hit the notification so that you can be notified as I load more and more videos onto my channel. So thank you very much, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.